It was the year 2095 and the world was on the brink of collapse. Climate change had ravaged the planet, causing widespread famine and destruction. The oceans had risen to dangerous levels, flooding coastal cities and making them uninhabitable. The few remaining governments were struggling to maintain control as people fought for survival. In the midst of this chaos, a brilliant scientist named Dr. Samantha Lee had made a groundbreaking discovery. She had developed a machine that could send a person back in time. After years of research and experimentation, she was finally ready to test her invention. Dr. Lee knew that the only hope for saving humanity was to go back in time and prevent the catastrophic events that had led to the destruction of the planet. She had chosen to go back to the year 2015, the year when the first signs of climate change had begun to manifest. She knew that if she could prevent the initial cause of the problem, she could change the course of history and save the world. With a heavy heart, Dr. Lee stepped into the time machine and set the date for 2015. She felt a sudden jolt as the machine whirred to life and she was sucked into a vortex of light and sound. When she opened her eyes, she found herself in a bustling city street. The world she was in seemed so familiar, yet so different. The technology was less advanced, the cars were different, and the fashion was not what she was used to. She looked around in wonder, taking in the sights and sounds of the world she had left behind. But she knew she had no time to waste. She had to find the people and organizations that held the power to change the course of history. Dr. Lee began her journey by seeking out the leaders of the major countries. She met with the heads of state, warning them of the impending catastrophe and urging them to take action. She spoke with scientists, environmentalists, and activists, sharing her knowledge and encouraging them to work together to find a solution. Despite the initial skepticism and resistance she faced, Dr. Lee persisted. She knew that time was running out and that every day counted. And slowly but surely, her message began to take hold. People began to take notice of the changes in the environment and the warnings of scientists. Governments began to take action, investing in renewable energy and implementing policies to reduce carbon emissions. The world began to change, and for the first time in decades, there was hope. Dr. Lee's efforts had paid off. She had changed the course of history, preventing the catastrophe that had doomed her world. She knew that the fight against climate change was far from over, but she had given the world a chance. With a sense of accomplishment and a heavy heart, Dr. Lee stepped back into her time machine. She set the date for 2095 and prepared to return to her own time. As the machine whirred to life, she looked back at the world she had saved and knew that her journey had been worth it. When she opened her eyes, she found herself back in her lab in 2095. But the world was different. It was a world where the people were united in their efforts to save the planet and where hope had not yet been lost. Dr. Lee knew that it was not the end, but it was a new beginning. She had changed the course of history and the future was now in their hands.